Good morning. Welcome on into Let's Bet It, presented by Superbook Sports. I'm Lauren Jabara. That's Mark Zinno. Zinno, how are we today? Happy Monday.
Lauren, happy Monday to you. I know your travels have taken you to parts unknown here in America. I hope you got a much more rested weekend than when we saw you last. But it was a very profitable Sunday. Ended up with the Chargers +3 last night. So we continued and we ride on into Monday and Monday Night Football here and the beginning of bowl week. Bowl season opens up this weekend. So giddy up.
I am so excited for bowl season to happen this weekend. And then we're going to have football games basically every single day up until like January 9th. It's going to be amazing. Let's get into some winners and losers. We also have our Monday Night Football preview with Prop Holidays coming out and giving us some of his props for Week 14, putting a bow on it. 5 burning NFL questions. And then college football early birds. If you do have any bowl picks this early, Zeno, we're going to go over them. So without further ado, let's get right into it. Let's bet it. Winners and losers. Who is your biggest Week 14 winner?
Got to tip my cap again to the Cincinnati Bengals. You know, there were a lot of sharp people who thought the Browns would win this game or at least took them getting the points. And Sunday morning, as we were doing Let's Bet It, Jared and I, you saw a steam movement on Cleveland that brought that line all the way down to 3.5. Remember, it opened up near 6.5. And so there were a lot
Yeah.
of sharp people who thought the Browns were the right side of this thing. They were not. The Bengals once again win. The Bengals once again cover. Just run through the streak that they've had. Road win against Pittsburgh. Road win against Tennessee. Home win against Kansas City. Home win against division rival Cleveland. They look every bit as real as you'd think that they would. I was wrong on them. I thought they'd regress. In fact, I think they look more like a Super Bowl team this year than they were last year. So props to Cincinnati. They just keep on winning.
I know that my biggest winner may or may not be your overreaction for this week, so we'll get into both of it. My winner is Brock Purdy, 8th rookie quarterback that made his first career start against Tom Brady, and he's the only one that got a win. And they ended up benching him, but only because he led his team to a 35-0 lead against Tom Brady and the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. He is QB1. Jimmy G hadn't completed a touchdown pass for more than 25 yards in the air all season. Brock Purdy in one game, guess what? How many he had? He had 2. Oh, yeah, and add a rushing touchdown onto that as well. I know the defense and the run game really helped them out in that win, but this guy was picked last in the NFL draft, and he made some solid staple plays for this 49ers team. I'm a fan. They benched him because they're going to make a long postseason run, possibly with Brock Purdy under center. But I know that the 49ers are your overreaction, so please tell me why.
Well, look, the 35-0 win says a lot more about the Broncos defense and the lack of Buccaneers offense than anything else. I'm not taking anything away from Brock Purdy. The young man played fantastic, but that's not what this is about. The 49ers are not an offense on the regular that generates 35 points a game. So they have a short week this week. They'll travel to Seattle. I would look to fade the 49ers in this spot here. Again, given Brock Purdy, had the cozy confines of home and a week to prepare. Now he's on a short week going out on the road in one of the toughest places to play in the NFL. I don't expect 35
Yeah.
points 2 weeks in a row out of the 49ers offense.
It's going to be interesting to see how they play out, if it was just like a one and done kind of a thing for Brock Purdy, or if he's actually going to be Purdy week in and week out. My other biggest winner, because I have 2, I can't just choose one. And I know you can probably guess it if you tried. It's my Detroit Lions. They came out at home against a 10-2 Minnesota Vikings team and dominated. They have won 5 of their last 6 games. They beat the Jags by 26 points last week. They held Minnesota to 22 yards on 17 carries this week. They kept Justin Jefferson out of the end zone. They're now only 1.5 games back in the NFC playoff field. They have 4 easy games remaining. I know the odds are kind of stacked against them, but I look at their youth and what they've accomplished. A guy like Aiden Hutchinson, Jameson Williams got his first catch since coming back from an ACL injury, and guess what? It was a touchdown. It was so exciting to see. This team is so young. They're going to be so good for years moving forward. Fingers crossed. We'll see. Would you bet on them at this point to possibly make the postseason?
I mean, yeah, it's not a terrible bet. The problem is that they lose a tiebreaker with the Seahawks. So because they lost a head-to-head matchup earlier this year, so you and all the Lions fans have to be rooting for San Francisco on Thursday night to win the game and push the Seahawks back a little bit further. Look, I think the Giants are going down. I think they're trending in the wrong direction. Absolutely. The Commanders and their defense could be a little bit of a problem. But again, you're talking about between the Lions, Seahawks, Giants, and Commanders, 2 spots between 4 teams. And I would tell you, I think the Seahawks and the Giants are trending in the wrong direction, and they're on their way
Yeah.
out. And that opens the door for the Lions to sneak this thing in. But, you're talking about a Lions team right now that pretty much needs to run the table the rest of the way out against the Jets, Panthers, Bears, and Packers in order to secure themselves a playoff spot.
So they have a pretty easy schedule remaining, but hopefully they don't overlook any of those teams, which brings us into the
They're
Giants
playing
because I
two
know they
really good
expect.
defense back to back in the Jets and Panthers
Yeah.
on the road. That could be a little bit problematic.
Let's get into your biggest loser because I know it's the Giants. You said they're trending in the wrong direction, along with the Seahawks, who haven't been the same since returning from Germany. I don't know what happened over there, but since the middle of November, they have not been the same Seattle Seahawks team. Tell me about the Giants. Why do you think they're trending in the wrong direction?
Well, in both cases, it's just sort of some regression from the fact that both these teams started out, what was it, 5-1, 6-1, whatever it was.
Mm-hmm.
Their rosters aren't that good. And that's what it boils down to. I mean, the Giants have been decimated with injuries across the board. Seattle was banged up this week, too. They had no Kenneth Walker. I mean, both these teams, because they are not as good at these starting positions, when those guys go down, the reserves are even worse. And they're just getting outclassed right now because they don't have the roster depth to compete with the teams that they're playing against. I mean, it's been a great run for the Giants. I've been really happy with this season and the way that they've played. But yesterday just kind of shows you they don't have the horses in the barn to compete with legitimate talent in the NFL this year. Credit to Brian Daboll for keeping this team as competitive as they have been, but they got outclassed yesterday in a major way and got run all over by the Eagles at home. And if they lose on Sunday night in Washington to the Commanders, their playoff hopes are all but over.
Yeah, it's going to be interesting to see how their trends keep going forward. We have 5 burning questions in the NFL before we bring in our friend Bobby Stanley, Prop Holiday. Number 1, Mark Zinno, is Brock Purdy good enough to get the 49ers to a Super Bowl? This would be the team's 3rd appearance in the last 10 years, each time with a different quarterback.
It doesn't matter if he's good enough because the defense is. I mean, we all seem to forget what Peyton Manning looked like on his last Super Bowl in Denver and the ducks that he was throwing, and how his arm didn't even work for the better part of that postseason. When you have a defense that good, your quarterback almost becomes irrelevant. Yeah, not Mr. Irrelevant, but your quarterback almost becomes irrelevant. Like all you need to do is not screw it up. All you need to do is not turn the ball over. Make a couple of plays that can extend drives or get you into scoring position, kick a field goal, score a touchdown, and you're going to be good enough. We've seen this repeatedly, time and time again. The best defenses beat the best offenses in the postseason, and in San Francisco, absolutely, their defense is good enough to beat anybody in this league. So as long as Brock Purdy doesn't hurt the team and isn't net negative, they are still much very alive to win the Super Bowl.
Yeah, I mean, they say defense wins championships, and it's a true statement. And if he holds up under center like he did this past week, I think they're going to be looking pretty pretty or pretty purdy, if you want to say that. Let's get into the Cowboys because they're sitting at 10-3 on the season, similar to the Minnesota Vikings. We all know that the Vikings are kind of a fraudulent 10-3 team. I know the Cowboys barely beat the Texans this week. Is the shine kind of coming off of the Cowboys? Do you think they might be a little fraudulent, or do you think they could still make a solid run right now at the top of the NFC East?
No, there are only 3 seeds that can win the Super Bowl. San Francisco, Philadelphia, and Dallas is the other. A 14-point lead to the Packers, right? What'd they do the next game? They went out and smoked the Vikings on the road 40-3. I'm not worried about the Cowboys. They are still in a little bit of a look-ahead spot right now. Even though it's 2 weeks away, they have their eyes on the Eagles and Christmas Eve and that game in Dallas, which is going to be insane. And so they're just getting by. And as long as they get by with W's, I don't necessarily think that it matters. They're going to go on the road to Jacksonville this week, and I would expect that they'll take care of business with them. What was more surprising about that game yesterday than anything was the fact that the Texans were able to put up 23 points against the Cowboys defense. That I probably didn't see coming. The Cowboys scoring 27 kind of felt like, that's good. It's good enough to win the game. So I wasn't really worried about them offensively, but they did give up more points than I would have expected in the game. Still, I have very little concern about the Cowboys.
Yeah, you mentioned the Jacksonville Jaguars. Right now they're sitting at 5-8. They're second in the AFC South, but hold up for a second because the Tennessee Titans have lost 3 straight games, including this past week to the Jacksonville Jaguars. They're now 7-6. They still have a firm hold of the AFC South, but the loser of 3 in a row. Are they considered frauds at this point of the season?
No, you turn the ball over 4 times, you can't beat anybody in this league, and that's what Tennessee did
Yeah.
yesterday. They hurt themselves. They did nothing but hurt themselves the entire game, and it ended up costing them. I mean, Derrick Henry still had 120 yards rushing and a touchdown in the game, which is exactly the game script you would have thought. But you can't keep giving the ball back to the other team on their side of the field and making it easy for them to score. I don't care how good your defense is. That said, the Tennessee Titans' problems are still on the offensive side of the ball because they have nothing to say of any skill position weapons that anybody needs to be scared of. And with Treylon Burks out,
Yeah.
their rookie wide receiver, if he's not in the lineup, they have nothing. They literally have nothing. They have no way to score other than to hand the ball to Derrick Henry, and everybody knows it's coming. So unless you physically can't stop what you know is coming, which we've seen happen before in certain cases, Tennessee becomes very one-dimensional, and they make themselves very easy to figure out. That's part of their biggest problem. I wouldn't call them frauds. I would just say they have a lack of depth at skill positions that give them the opportunity to do anything else other than hand the ball off to 22.
Yeah. And when you know that the ball's coming to 22, you know how to shut them down at that point. I mean, we've seen what teams have done with him the last couple of weeks as well. I think he was like held to 35 yards last week. Just some crazy stuff from the Tennessee Titans. But this week, who are they taking on this week? I think they have the Chargers this week, so it could be a good bounce back spot. But the Chargers feeling pretty hot after this past week. Let's talk about the Lions, because I know this is a big if. If the Lions make the playoffs, could they win a round one game? I feel like they could with the way that they're playing right now. Their defense has stepped up, and the offense is really flowing.
Well, again, that depends on who they play. If the Minnesota Vikings have the 2 seed and the Lions are the 7 seed, and they meet in the first round, yes, the
Yeah.
Lions could win that game. If the San Francisco 49ers get the 2 seed and the Lions are the 7 seed, no, they can't win that game. They will get destroyed by that defense. That's how much confidence I have in the 49ers defense, especially with Kyle Shanahan. I don't even need to worry about their offense putting up a lot of points. If San Fran gets to 23 in that game, I think San Fran's defense is good enough to shut down the Lions and hold them to 20, even with Amon-Ra St. Brown and DeAndre Swift in the lineup. So it really depends on the opponent, who they get, and that draw could be very important right now. So the win yesterday over Minnesota, certainly a feather in Detroit's cap, and feeling like, hey, if we end up seeing these guys in the first round, that could be our first round matchup. And the way it's trending, if the Lions get in, they'll be the 7 seed. Most likely, they'll be the 7 seed. And so they should hope the Vikings keep winning the rest of the way out and hang on to that 2nd seed.
Yeah, absolutely. What about the Buccaneers? Because right now they have a 462 win percentage, but they are still sitting at the top of the NFC South, which is an absolute putrid division this season. Are the Bucs going to be the worst team in the playoffs if they make it?
I mean, record-wise, yes. I'll answer your question with asking a simple question. Do you want to bet against Tom Brady catching points in the playoffs, Lauren?
No, no,
I don't.
no.
I wouldn't.
I mean,
I wouldn't
you
get
don't
in
even
front
need
of
to finish that question before I answer it. You don't even
I
need to
mean,
finish the question before
I know things are bad. I know how bad Tampa is. I know how bad they've looked at times. But Tom Brady catching points in a playoff game almost
Yeah.
never happens. He's covered like 80% of the time when that's been the case. So I get it. Different team, different coaches, different everything. But still, I wouldn't step in front of Tom Brady catching points in the playoffs.
Nothing more needs to be said about that. Our 5 burning questions, Mark Zinno has answered all of them. Now we have one more burning question for week 14, and that's Monday Night Football and who's going to come out on top. And for more on that, let's bring in Bobby Stanley, Prop Holiday, to get into our Patriots-Cardinals game. The New England Patriots flying all the way west to Arizona to take on the Arizona Cardinals. Both teams fighting for a playoff berth right now. The Pats have dropped to last place in the AFC East at 6-6, back-to-back losses, most recently to the Bills in week 13. I know, Bobby Stanley, that the Cardinals have been really bad at home this season. They're 1-6 on home turf. Do the Patriots take advantage of this spot? They're laying 1.5 points on the road.
Sadly, I do, in what I think is going to be a kind of boring Monday Night Football game. But I was going through my research, and I saw someone brought up. Apparently, there's rumors going around. There's people in the locker room, people around the team, calling this the most important game of Bill Belichick's post-Brady career. And I thought that was humorous at best. That a Monday Night Football game. I think it was someone tied into New England. It was a New England local reporter I heard saying this.
Yeah.
Shocked to say the least. I mean, it is a Monday Night Football game. It does have playoff implications, but I don't see any reason they're away favorites to beat up on this Arizona Cardinals team. And you just look at the disparity, Cliff Kingsbury and Bill Belichick. Who would you bet on with a blindfold? Give me Bill Belichick any day.
Oh, absolutely. I know. Okay, let's get to some of your props first of all. Talk about Mac Jones over completions. Tell me more about it.
I was more shocked at the line of this than anything else. So his completion total is over 20 and a half. And he's hit it in 7 to 9 games this season. He's hit it in 3 straight, and he's hit it in 4 of the last 5. Then I look at the matchup. I say, all right, Cardinals are probably pretty good at this. No, they're really not. Cardinals allow the most completions per game at home and the second most completions per game overall for the season. So maybe the stars are aligning too much, but I love this spot. Byron Murphy, cornerback for the Cardinals, is out tonight, which is favorable. But his number one target, Jacoby Myers, on the New England Patriots, is also out tonight, which is not favorable. I was watching some Vance Joseph kind of pregame press conferences. He was saying this offense looks like it was run by a defensive coordinator, which it is. Their goal, let's get 4 yards per play, ton of screens, a bunch of quick outs, very few deep shots. Let's play efficient football. So I love Mac Jones on the completions play. It's 20 and a half. It's a little juiced up, but I still like it tonight.
All right, let's look at some of the other possibilities here. We going to get running back by committee tonight from New England, or is it Ramondre Stevenson and no Devin Harris playing tonight?
As of last night, I saw that Damian Harris was doubtful. Not sure if that's changed this morning, but when I started to really dig into the slate, I'm expecting a big workload from the Ramondre Stevenson, both out of the backfield and and catching passes. We mentioned Jacoby Myers. That's his number one target. That's his safety blanket. He's gone. So, you can go Nelson Aguilar, you can go Kendrick Bourne, you can look at Hunter Henry. I'm just going to go with Stevenson. It seems like the safe play. He's averaging 49.5 receiving yards per game since week 7. He gets a Cardinals team, and I know you love the metrics, Mark, 30th overall in DVOA against running backs. They allow 7 targets and 44 yards per game to running backs out of the backfield. So it seems like a safe spot. It seems like a safe play. I'm going Stevenson over 33.5 receiving yards.
I like it. Okay, you always give us your long shot odd anytime touchdown scorer. Who do we have for today?
You notice I didn't really have one up. I think it's going to be a putrid low score. I think it's going to be 2017 Patriots. But a guy I did have my eye on was Hunter Henry. He does get targeted around the red zone. He is a big-bodied guy. He did arguably score 2 touchdowns, I think, against Minnesota back on Thanksgiving. So if I'm playing anyone with some odds, I would go Hunter Henry tonight. I think it's like plus 230, maybe plus 250 you can get Henry on, but I think it's going to be low scoring tonight.
Ooh.
Interesting.
Zeno,
how did we?
Yeah.
I was going to say, Bobby, how did we end up doing yesterday after the show? We eyed up a lot of different things.
My player props were actually fairly successful. I hit on Josh Allen. I hit on Adam Thielen. T. Higgins got hurt in warmups, played 1 snap, and they didn't void any of his bets. So, yes, it's a loss on my record, but I wasn't too happy about that. Let's go through. I think you covered with Buffalo. You covered with Cincy. Yeah. I don't know if we talked about any other games. There was one. Oh, I was right about Baltimore. I like Baltimore. That was my only hit. But it was a decent day. It wasn't. No, it wasn't.
Can we also talk about the biggest loser being the concussion protocol in the NFL, with both Tyler Huntley, Kenny Pickett going out twice in the same game after coming back in for 1 snap, and then this is the second concussion that he suffered in the 2022 season this year. It's just crazy.
It seems like all the hype. Remember when Tua got seriously hurt on Thursday Night Football a few weeks ago, and then we had the overcorrection of anyone who looked like they got sneezed on, got pulled out of the game? Well, now we went overcorrection in the opposite way, where a guy got knocked out twice. So NFL is not known for its consistency. I can say that much.
Did you see the goiter on Russell Wilson's head after he got knocked out of the game? He had this huge lump, like right on the side of his head as he walked off the field.
It's probably best for Denver anyway. And all considered, just let's put Russ away for a little bit. No, but it was a. No, go ahead.
He got absolutely rocked. Last but not least, I want to ask about my Detroit Lions, because I know at this point They're a long
Oh,
shot
boy.
to make the playoffs. Other teams have to win or lose. They have to win out. They have 4 decently easy games remaining. They're going up against 2 strong defenses in the Jets and Panthers. But we'll see what happens. Would you bet on them at this point to possibly make the postseason?
Depending on what the odds were, I would definitely sprinkle it. If they do get in as a wild card, they'll probably be the team no one wants to play. They have nothing to lose. They have a top 5 pick in the bank with the Rams. They're, I would say, ahead of schedule for as far as a rebuild is concerned. And their offense and you made a good point, Mark. If he gets Shanahan in round 1, it's over. He knows how to destroy Jared Goff. But any other matchup, I think they're the team no one would want to play. They could put up points with anybody in the league. They're playing that well over these last 5 weeks. So they're going to be a team I hope gets in. They're going to be fun to watch.
Why don't we ask a better question about the Lions, considering they likely are going to have a top 5 pick? Are they drafting a quarterback, Lauren? If you're the Lions GM, are
Yeah,
you drafting a quarterback? You are?
absolutely I am. With the
You're not
quarterbacks in the
sold on
draft,
Jared
absolutely I am.
Goff?
Absolutely I am. I'm done with Jared Goff. I'm done with Jared Goff.
Okay.
I was done with Matthew Stafford a while ago. So, I maybe just as a contrarian play, but with the quarterbacks that are in the draft this year, absolutely I'm taking a quarterback. Absolutely.
We're gonna go.
Would you
Not a
not?
hesitation. Not a hesitation. Didn't even think about it.
There wasn't any hesitation. What if Jared Goff wins a round 1 playoff game? Are we going to boot him for CJ Stroud? Probably.
Probably.
How are you going to feel if the Lions
you want to know
draft?
what?
How are you going to feel if the Lions draft an Ohio State guy?
Anything it takes to win the game. How about you ask Aiden Hutchinson that in the
Now we can be
locker
Ohio
room?
State fans.
Because I feel like
Now
there's
we
a
can
little
be
bit more. There's a little bit more hesitancy inside the locker room with a guy like Aiden Hutchinson than there is with outside fans. I'm down for whatever
Lauren,
it takes
what
for
would
this
you
team to
rather
make it
have?
further
The Lions
than the
make
first playoff round.
playoffs?
Dude, we haven't made a playoff. We haven't played in a playoff game since 2015, and we lost
Lauren,
to the Dallas
okay.
Cowboys
Let
because
me
the
ask you a
refs made a
question.
mistake. And before
Oh,
that,
boy.
I can't even tell you when we were in the playoffs last. I don't even think I was born then. Anything that
Lauren.
gets this team past the first round of the playoffs in my lifetime, I'm going to be a happy gal.
Okay, so Lauren, what would you rather have? The Lions make the playoffs and win a playoff game, or Michigan make it to the national finals against Ohio State?
Ooh.
Michigan, of course. That's my alma mater, but I did have to hesitate and think about that for a second. It took me a second.
Yeah,
I mean,
you
I'm
have
not
less
saying they're
hesitation
going
than
to
this
win.
in here.
A Michigan Ohio State national championship or Lions win a playoff game.
Can I have both?
If you lose to Ohio State, it is the ultimate bragging rights in that rivalry. If you lose the national championship game to Ohio State, game, set, match.
I don't think
Over.
Ohio
Done.
State's getting past Georgia, to be honest with you, but I digress, and we're going to break that down throughout the next couple of weeks. Bobby Stanley, we so appreciate you for coming on. We'll be talking to you on Thursday. Thanks for putting a bow on our Week 14 NFL season.
Best of luck, guys. Thanks for having me.
Thanks, Bobby.
Peace. See you soon. Let's Bet It is presented by our friends at Superbook Sports. Make sure to go to superbook.com or download the app today. And this season, friends, we are all rooting for safeties. That's because Superbook is going to give you a $50 bonus on each safety scored this season. Just place a $100 pregame bet on any spread or any total. And if there's a safety scored in any game on Sunday, you get a $50 bonus. Make sure to visit superbook.com for terms and conditions. From superbook.com to Pickswise.com. Zeno, is there a 3-star play from Michigan to make the national championship game on the site, or what do we got?
Well, this episode of Pickswise is also brought to you by the Detroit Lions and Jared Goff, as we spent more time talking about them than anything else.
And Little Caesars Pizza.
There you go. Hey, Matt Stafford might not be playing football, but he's making pizza commercials. All right. Best bets on the site. There are 2 NBA plays and 1 college basketball play. So go check that out again. Pickswise.com, the place to go.
Pickswise.com. All right, our 3-star play of the day. Do you want to go plays of the day? Do you want to go first? I'll let you go first. Age before beauty.
Yes, that is the most accurate way to describe our relationship, Lauren. Age before beauty. All right, let's go to the ice tonight, Lauren. Trying to get the ice game back on here. No, I'm not going to the first period over, but we're going to look at Edmonton and Minnesota playing each other. Total of 6.5. We're going to go over here. Edmonton is one of the highest scoring teams in the league. They also give up a lot of goals at will, but Edmonton 7-0 to the over in their last 7 versus the Central. They're also 7-1 to the over in their last 8 overall. For the Wild, They are 6-0 to the over in their last 6 games following win, and 5-0 to the over in their last 5 games versus a team with a winning record. That is exactly what Edmonton has. Edmonton's last game actually was against Minnesota 2 days ago, or 3 days ago, rather, and Edmonton wins that game 5-3. Edmonton has either scored 5 goals or given up 5 goals in 6 of their last 7 games. Minnesota had a game last night. They're on a back-to-back, so I think that Edmonton's probably the right side here. But final game of the regular season between these two matchups, they've gone to at least 7 goals in both of the previous first 2 matchups. I think they do so here. Again, give me over 6.5 goals between Edmonton and Minnesota tonight.
Give us all the goals, all the offense. Speaking of offense, I'm taking the Pats money line, and not because of their offense, but because of their defense. Both teams have dropped 2 games in a row. Cardinals do not take advantage of their home field. They're 1-6 at home this season, and they're coming off of a bye. The Pats are not on a bye, but they have had a long week. The last time they played was week 13, Thursday night football against the Bills, and their defense is what has kept them alive this season. No surprise, because they're being coached by Bill Belichick. But opponents only pass for 200 yards per game against them. They're one of the best in the league. Offensively for the Cardinals, Kyler Murray hasn't played the last couple of weeks. He might be a little bit rusty. And then defensively for the Cardinals, they allow the second most points in the NFL. 3 of their last 5 opponents broke 30 points, and their weakness is against the pass. So we've seen Mac Jones have some solid weeks. I know he's going to be missing his top receiver in Jacoby Myers, which isn't great. But at the same time, we're going to see a lot of Ramondre Stevenson. This is a must-win game for the New England Patriots. I trust Bill Belichick over Cliff Kingsbury any day, so I'm taking the Pats as the road favorites in this one against a Cardinals team that has not been very good at home and not been very good at all this season. So that's my best bet of the day. Let's hope for a lot of NHL goals and a lot of Pats points against the Cardinals defense that allow the second most points per game in the NFL. That's it for us today, guys. Find us on the Pickswise YouTube channel. Go to Pickswise.com. Follow us on Twitter. That's Mark Zinno. I'm Lauren Jabara. We'll see you guys tomorrow. Go Blue. Go Lions. Let's get it. Let's bet it.